Hey, so I want to talk about the dysfunctional state of black male friendships slash associations. And today I'm going to be talking about the former president, Barack Obama, and Byron Allen. Okay. Now, disclaimer, I actually don't think that the former president contributed in any way to this dysfunction. So, Byron Allen owns several cable TV channels, along with owning the rights to, I believe, over 40 TV series, and he also owns some regional sports stations, okay? He's been in an ongoing dispute with various different TV and satellite service providers, including AT&T and DirecTV, who decided to settle out of court with him, and Comcast and Charter. So Comcast and Charter are the country's two largest cable TV service providers, and they basically have said that it wouldn't make sense for them to offer Byron Allen's programming as part of their cable TV service packages because they don't think they would make any money, and B, they've said that their customers are not asking them to offer his programming, so they're saying there's not really a demand for it. Byron Allen is saying that they've made that decision because he's black, and so he's been in an ongoing legal battle with them. And the legal foundation for his dispute is an 1866 civil rights law, which in part said that race cannot be used against you when it comes to making and enforcing business contracts. So the legal dispute here is that the Ninth Circuit of the Federal Appeals Court basically said that their interpretation is that if race is a motivating factor, then a business is in violation of that 1866 civil rights law. Donald Trump and the current Justice Department are saying that their interpretation of that law would mean that Byron Allen would have to prove that the only reason that Comcast and Charter aren't doing business with him is because of his race. So they're saying that if there were any other motivating factors, then there's no grounds for a lawsuit. So Comcast and Charter have appealed the federal court's decision up to the Supreme Court, and I believe the Supreme Court has agreed to hear Comcast and their side of the case in November. Right now, they haven't decided on whether or not they're going to hear Charter's case, and I'm guessing it's because however they rule in the Comcast decision will be used to determine the ruling in the Charter case. Okay? Now, here's the thing that's interesting to me. Black women are often accused of using non-black people to quote unquote attack black men when we have disagreements with black men. The interesting thing to me is that when the former president decided that he did not want to have a meeting with Byron Allen, one of the first things that Byron Allen did was go to any media outlet that would hear him out, and he would trash the former president. So he would go to a media outlet, whether it was liberal, independent, or conservative, even ultra conservative. So he would go to places with President Obama's political rivals and trash the former president. He called him a white man in blackface. He said that we would be better off with a white president. I mean, a lot of his attacks against President Obama were very personal and honestly were very insulting. Here's the interesting thing to me. We know that Barack Obama is a biracial man. Now, Byron Allen is a black man with 3 biracial children, including a son and 2 daughters. Okay? How would he feel if any one of his kids grew up and anytime they had a disagreement or a falling out with a black person who was the product of 2 black parents, How would they feel if that black person looked at them and said, well, you're just the white person in blackface? How would he feel? How would he feel if people publicly said that about his children once they're adults over a difference in opinion? Yet that's what he publicly said about the former president on several occasions, even though he publicly admitted that he did not have a personal problem with President Obama. He found him to be an easygoing person. And in fact, he supported President Obama when he was Senator Obama and contributed to his campaign. But when you have a disagreement with him, the first thing you do is you go to primarily white-owned media outlets and you use those white people's platforms to trash another man who the larger society would probably call black, even though he's biracial. He did the very thing that black women are often accused of. And when he did that, the black collective did not call him out for that. Didn't call him out for that at all. So now that he's got what he said would be best for the country, which is a white president. So now that Byron Allen has gotten a white president through Donald Trump, and Donald Trump's Justice Department also is siding with Comcast and Charter, just like the former president's Justice Department did. In his public statements, Byron Allen is not personally attacking President Trump. Instead, he's making more of an intelligent argument. So he's saying, well, this is happening to me because, certain legal violations, or this is happening to me because of what he's calling institutionalized racism. But he had no problem running to White Zaddy, as black men like to call him. He had no problem running to White Zaddy to throw another man who the world views as black under the bus. And this is just another example of the ways that black men have no problem throwing each other under the bus. And this is another very public example of the fact that black men are their own worst enemies, and they're also each other's worst enemies. They stab each other in the back all the time. We saw it with Jay-Z and Jermaine Dupri. We see it with the former President Obama and Byron Allen, who, by the way, it's quite possible that Byron Allen will not win at the Supreme Court, because a lot of the people who are publicly supporting Byron Allen cannot tell you, they can't give you a list of 5 shows that are offered on his channels that are popular or that they even regularly watch. Okay, so he's probably going to lose, because if Comcast and Charter would prove that it just simply wouldn't benefit them to do business with him, then the law is going to side with them, because the bottom line is that you cannot force a business to do something that would be detrimental to that business. That's just the reality. But another thing to pay attention to is that if you notice, when black women speak out about the ways that we are discriminated against, whether it's racial or gender discrimination, when we speak out, the black collective often doesn't support us, and the black collective specifically goes out of its way to make it very clear that they will not support black women who are in interracial relationships in situations where those women are being discriminated against. In the case of Byron Allen, no one who supports him is concerned about his personal life, because they shouldn't be, right? Who he goes home to at night should have no bearing in whether or not people decide to support him. But it's very interesting that while you have all of these people who have gone out of their way to repeatedly publicly say, okay, if a black woman is in this type of relationship, we won't support her. Mum's the word when it comes to Byron Allen. Black men are offered protection by the Black collective, regardless of what their personal relationship situation is with the woman. So it doesn't matter whether the guy is single, married, or whether or not he's in a relationship with a Black woman or a woman of another race. If a Black man says, I'm being discriminated against, the collective stands behind him with the show of solidarity. But the first thing he did when he had a disagreement with a man that many people would perceive as Black, the first thing he did was ran to white zaddy, even the most conservative ones. And even though he did that, he still offered protection by other Black men and the Black women who tend to be male-minded. So it's just something to think about. I'll talk to y'all soon.